Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of What They Don't Tell You. I'm your host, Jacob, along with the other host,
Aiden, and we're here to bring you our perspective on news, facts, culture, and all things scary.
Alright guys, in today's episode we're going to be talking about three different topics. We're going to be talking about the history of Halloween, how it has got to where it is today, why we so commercialize this holiday now and what it used to be. We're also going to be talking about, should Christians really be celebrating this? Does this holiday have demonic ties? And we're also going to be talking about people mocking Charlie Kirk again with Halloween costumes. So, Aiden, are you ready for this?
I think so.
Alright, so you want to run us down and then we'll kind of weave our way through the history of Halloween.
So, interesting holiday origins, to say the least, but I think we wanted to bounce a few questions off of Jacob. So, first of all, what did the Celtic calendar look like? Because I know it didn't look like our traditional calendar that we think of today.
So, as you guys can see on the picture on the screen, the Celtics had two seasons in their calendar, and the calendar was shaped like a circle, as you can see on the screen. One was the light season, and then the dark season. And Aiden, I'll let you get into the reasons for this holiday, but the idea was that transitioning from light to dark, these evil spirits wouldn't affect them going into the new season. So Aiden, if you want to go off of that.
Yeah, so interesting concept, but we can see kind of where our traditional Halloween comes from already in this, dressing up, scaring off evil spirits, all of those things, and then feast too. I mean, there's feasting, fires, they'd light fires to
this would be a
scare away.
Feast.
Yeah, this is a pretty big deal, actually, guys, in this Celtic culture. And so they would, have this 3-day feast. And look, guys, like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think the costumes and the masks were to scare away the dead spirits. Like, that's ridiculous. Let's be honest. Today, when you're going to, going to Thanksgiving, you're going somewhere, and we all have our excuses, but still, it's a little awkward when you're passing Sam and you're reaching for the 7th cookie, or, you're lobbing that, like last piece of pumpkin pie that everyone was wanting after you've already had, like, 12 times more than everyone else. It gets awkward. I just think those masks, they were helpful. Like, you don't know if it's Greg or Joe going to get that last piece of pie, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So I just think it's interesting,
masks at the end of the feast?
Yeah, you don't
know at some point,
So I'll let Jacob dive into a little bit more of the seedier sides of this holiday and this Celtic origin and what they believed, but interesting. Thoughts?
Yeah, so what they would do, they would have a 3-day feast, and this would be a feast of dancing, of fires, of eating, lots of food, and the goal, again, like we said, was to scare off these evil spirits going into the light side, into the dark side, and we see this kind of carry out for a while, and we'll get into that in a second, throughout these traditions and eventually come to where we are today. But if you want to continue on how we got to the Christian side of this.
Yeah, so the Christian side came about the most centrally, it did come about a little bit before this, but the most centrally with Pope Gregory III, who declared that this should be an All Saints holiday, put it exactly on Halloween to essentially, kind of like we've done with all holidays actually, most holidays are initially and first most pagan holidays, and then we the Christians come in and we're like, well, they still want to celebrate something, but we can't have them celebrating and going along with these pagan ideas, and so then they throw what's still a traditional holiday, but a holiday into that same timeline, so the Christians still have something to celebrate. So he threw in basically essentially a National Saints Day, where we would remember saints, and then eventually along the road that came to be known as more of just the faithful fallen, right? If that's your family member, if that's anyone, those faithful people, that's you take the time, you celebrate, because as Christians we celebrate the life, because we know that no one is truly dead. He is the God of those ancestors you have, as Jesus says, right? Not the dead ones. There's no past tense there. And so we celebrate. We still celebrate. We remember their life. We remember what they did and maybe the ways that they influenced us or our past. And they would eat food and do all this same traditional things, but it was within a much more joyful attitude to which they did this.
I will say, so the Celtic people called this their feast holiday Samhain. And when Pope Gregory changed it, he changed it, as you said, from Samhain to All Saints Day or All Hallows Day. This was a day to celebrate the saints and the martyrs for the Christian and Catholic religion. So they would do a lot of the same things, but it was more focused on, how you said, focusing on the life to come and not the life that they left.
Yeah, super interesting. So, we're looking at this, and people are going to be like, okay, I see the transition, right? We got these masks, we got all these things. I see the transition to the secular holiday, but walk us through how we came from, we got the Celtic origin, then we got the Saints' Day. Work us through how we got to the very secular holiday we have today.
So again, in the early British colony days, they saw Halloween and All Saints' Day as a way that leads to idolatry. And so eventually the Protestants that moved to America were eventually changed the holiday to more of what it is today in the late 1800s, which we can see was a tradition where kids would dress up and they would pull pranks and tricks. And eventually, whenever we lead back, starting in the late 1900s, we saw a large number of immigrants, lots of Irish immigrants who were affected by the potato famine. With these people came lots of Halloween traditions that we do today. Now, a lot of the dressing up in candy came a little later, and the candy aspect came from when parents and homeowners would give the children candy in exchange for them not to pull tricks and pranks on their house or to themselves. So, Aiden, now we're in the day of they're starting to commercialize costumes and candy, and eventually we'll get into some of the scarier things about Halloween. But Aiden, just what are your thoughts on just how we've commercialized Halloween in general?
I mean, it's interesting. It's unfortunately we've commercialized it secular direction. When you see that it came from a very non-secular direction, I would say that that can lead to some idolatry, and that's up to personal conviction to say what that is, because often those costumes, they're not just random or homemade. It's essentially, we're taking stuff from Hollywood, we're taking stuff from here and here and here, stuff we already might idolize a little bit, and then, donning whatever costume that is. Now, again, that's up to personal discretion, and whatever. I'm not judging anyone here. I'm not like a huge Halloween hater, but I'm not following along with the creepy stuff either. It is weird to me, that transition, but I think it's very noteworthy to see also the way history connects. Before we move anywhere else, the potato famine that drove him here drove this. It's very interesting. We see that God always works all things for good for those who trust and believe in him, which is absolutely true, but those satanic things also still work, right? Like, we still understand that there's a being that is working essentially against us, and the best way to do that isn't to, visually, Satan's not door knocking like, hey guys, okay, like, support our cause. No, he's gonna go to where he can affect the most people. And so where can he affect most people? Well, you got that in movies, right? Movies get mass produced, and then a ton of people see them and influences a lot of people. Social media now, you could argue, but that might not be as influenced. But any area where you see where it's a mass produced object that influences people one way or another can be used for evil or good, right? But depending on the personal discretion of the people involved. So Satan's main goal is always going to be to reach those people because it reaches the most inevitably, because he's not omnipresent. So it makes it very difficult. Like, we see, okay, they come over from this terrible famine, but then they start to do this, which is good. This is fun, this is good. But then it starts to become more and more commercialized. And in a capitalistic society, we can do this. The thing is, in a capitalistic society, you have to have the morality of the people for a capitalistic society to work. Capitalistic society is always the best society to have for every person's incentives, but you also have to have morality for it to work effectively. Now, if you want to talk us through a little bit, I know that was, the heaviness and the history a little bit there. It's interesting how it connects. But Jacob, walk us through kind of, I guess we're approaching, we got the Irish coming over because of the potato famine, which is a huge deal. That's unfortunate. I think that's the same time we actually got a lot of potatoes getting grown here. So can we just, little round of applause, because that's the greatest contribution to American history. Amazing. And then, Jacob, if you want to kind of walk us through the rest of the kind of Halloween evolution here and what we see with little kids running around Elsa dresses.
So we now see that after the Irish came over, they gave a lot of the traditions that we have in recent years for Halloween and current Halloween traditions. We see a lot more of these tricks being played, these mischief being caused, and mischievous situations. And this is going to transition into kind of our next topic, which is how Halloween has some demonic ties. And this is, first, Satan uses a lot of these, because we can see that a lot of these decorations and these movies and these TV shows and these songs about Halloween are about witchcraft. They're about demonic figures. They're about goblins. And I know, like, on the face, oh, it's just a little zombie, the goblin, whatever.
Yeah, and
but,
from every atheist perspective, it's silly, right? I mean, really, I think a lot of this comes about just because, like, okay, that's not real, throw up some scary things, whatever, like those Christians, but,
right.
yeah,
But
sorry, continue, but it's
yeah, no, you're good. It really does come from a place of a spiritual battle, a spiritual being in these presence of these, like, distributors, these like, Halloween stores, these Halloween, like, ideas that they're trying to push, and it's one of the ways that I believe the devil uses to infiltrate, because it's like, on the basis, it's just Halloween. Just go get yourself some candy. And we're gonna get into why we think we should or shouldn't as Christians celebrate Halloween. But it's on the face, it's fine. But whenever you really get into these like weird, like, cult type things that are happening on Halloween, you're seeing these things that are happening, the vandalism, the murders. We saw the 2016 clown killer craze, and I believe that there's a little more than we think just Halloween. So, any thoughts before we get into our next topic?
I do think that there's sides. I think there's a balance, right? I've already lost my atheist audience, so I might as. You good?
Did it go up for?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, the connection that we do see, because we do see it. I've already lost my atheist audience, so I might as well lose my Christian one too. I have trick-or-treated. And it's...
No.
Yeah, it's a long story. Look, guys, I can explain. No, it's fun. I don't see the harm in that. It's if you're just on costume, getting some candy, whatever. I don't like the... More what I get frustrated with is that, especially the houses and the ideologies. Like, I got to drive. I go to do taekwondo and, different soccer things, stuff like that. And I always have to drive past this one house. And, dude, it's got, these, like, statues with these creepy things. Dude, and then it looks like a literal body.
Bags
it looks like, the body bags. That actually is bothering me more than anything, because I haven't seen that as much until this year. But it hangs from a tree, and I'm like, I don't know if I should call the cops, because this is a great ruse if you did just kill someone.
Right.
but it's just it's creepy. I don't like that. Like, it just feels dark. Like, even if you're an atheist, I'm like, how do you not see it? This just doesn't feel quite right. Like, there's some weirdo stuff, out there. But you can see the connection, right? That you should dress up like it to prevent the evil spirits from coming. And now we have those. Now, I know atheists and things that we predominantly have in America don't see it that way. But they probably see it as silly. But it serves as a purpose in their minds. Whether that purpose is directly correlated to the ancient Celts, that's negotiable. But the point being is that two very similar circumstances there, and then they believed it was because of evil spirits. Now, I joked about the Celts, that's stupid, it's thinnest right during this time of year, the barrier between the... But I don't know what there is to everything. We discount a lot of what the ancient people say because, it's superstition and they were scared. But there is something sometimes to that. I'm not saying, it was thinnest this time of year, but I am saying, like, that barrier. But I am saying that they really did believe that there was something after them at this time of year, and then they did something that reflected that kind of activity. And now that we have Jesus, we know that we don't have to fear those kinds of things, but that doesn't mean there wasn't something to that. And so continuing to support that now is, quite frankly, I think I'll just say it is immoral, or at least very dark and disturbing, and we don't want to follow those kind of lines of thought.
I feel like to some point it's almost like I've experienced this personally several times, where it's like, I almost feel like there's Joe knows Jacob's a Christian, or Jacob doesn't really and then almost goes out of their way to really, hey, I really celebrate, I love these demons and these this and that. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I've seen that a lot, and I think some people almost have that idea. It's like, we're almost just gonna go all out on Halloween just to make fun of what they believe in. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the fact that happens with Halloween. Maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. I've seen it personally sometimes, but
I do think that probably
I don't know
sometimes.
But this brings the question up that should Christians celebrate Halloween? And I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this, and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
So again, I don't think it's harm. I don't think that as Christians we need to be getting into this demonic activity, the setting up the bloody body bags, the dead clowns on the right. But I don't think you should take that joy away from your children of going on trick or treat, right? Yeah. I don't think there's not a problem with going trick or treating with your friends, with your family. But then whenever you get into the nitty gritty of it, and I've seen videos where it's like Satanists
Yeah.
brought from dark to light, literally became Christians, and have said that from 11 to 12 on Halloween, that's called the golden hour, is what they call it. Now again, I don't know how much of this is peer reviewed and scholarly tested and sourced, but from what I've seen, that it's a real thing. The devil uses Halloween as a destruction night. The golden hour is 11 to 12. I don't know how much of this is true, but I believe it.
Or how that even works. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. I mean, but like on the face, I don't think it's wrong. But whenever you get into some of the celebrating it in a way, Aiden, how much do you agree with that? Do you have any other?
No, I agree. Like I said, I trick or treated. Like, but that's like the extent of what I did. Like, okay, we go out for a few hours, we get some candy. My mom would remove some of it because she didn't want, always one that, kept care about her health. Check the candy for the needles. Hey, look, all I'm saying, more predominant in West Virginia. Just saying. No, I don't see any harm in that. I do see the harm in like the total, just like we're diving all the way in, because like I said, I saw that house and it's like it's got this like 6 foot tall. It's a statue, but its head swapped with like dead dolls. A head like a dead little girl. It's got like a scythe, and I'm like, what's the purpose? You know what I mean? And then also, I am willing, and I don't care if I lose my entire audience, I will stake, this is where I'm standing. If you put all of these things in your yard, you might be a sociopath or a psychopath. That's, like, I'm there. I have one because it's creepy. Because where do you keep it the rest of the year? Like, you gotta be so invested. I'm like, why are you so invested unless you're trying to hide something?
It's like Christmas with the Cranks when you see the Frosty in the basement and the kids
it's creepy, dude. It's creepy.
Okay, I get a freaky Frosty, but bro, the whole year with a bloody
dude. Imagine going to the basement and there's just like this body in the corner, and then you look over in the other corner, you got the doll with the scythe, and then you got to look in the other corner and there's this like grave thing like digging out. Like, dude, like your kid, you just cause permanent psychological trauma. I know I'm kind of joking, but like at the same time, it is just weird. Plus, where do you have the space to store like a 12-foot inflatable skeleton? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you go to like somewhere like, I don't know, Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and they always have it this time of year. But there'll be one that's like 14, like advertising 14-foot demonic dragon, and you're like, I can't even. I can't. Yeah. But I can't even, like, this is a bigger deal than putting the Christmas tree on the top of my car. You know what I'm saying? Like, the box itself is huge. I just don't, to me, it's just like there's so much that is invested in it. I don't see that purpose. Obviously, I'm, messing around a little bit. But I just don't understand the full ideology of we're going to make our house look really, like, plus you got to look out that in your front yard when you go to bed at night. I'm going to be checking the locks more than once.
Do you really want your kids, like, seeing that when they're going to bed? Like,
yeah, it's just creepy. It's unsettling to me, but everyone's at a different place, and maybe it's just really fun, and I'm somehow, I don't know. No, it's not. That's a lie. It's stupid. So we'll move on from that, but I do think that we need to be careful of the ties there may be, and then still be able to accept the fun aspects of it that actually did come from a Christian culture at the time.
So our last topic for today is some interesting Halloween costumes. So Aiden, you want to take us away for our last topic?
Yeah, so people are dressing up as probably this, but with blood and mocking him again. Look, my temptation is to be very angry, and I am very angry, but judgment will come if they don't repent. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not saying that, like, I'm not gonna try to help them, but I'm not gonna side with people that mock someone that did nothing wrong and promoted a good message, a message that a lot of them were able to benefit from if they talked to him or if they have ever spoken a free word in their lives, and his continuing promotion of that message. So really weird to me that the left would choose to do this, but look, if you see someone with those costumes, guys, they are beyond, like, dude, that bike with every single thing. These Halloween stores, it's just, gosh, I hope I don't see that. I'm in a small town. I don't think I will. Because I'm gonna be pissed if I do. But
I hope I don't. I will be too.
Yeah, that's tough. But aside from that, happy Halloween, everyone. Enjoy your Halloween. Keep an eye out for psychopaths, and figure out if you are one or not. I'm still undecided. Bye.
Peace out, boys. Bye.